How's it going? How are you today? It's been a really long time since I've recorded a video, so I kind of wanted to walk you through my process of how I've been saving for taxes in the easiest way possible, and what I have been doing, why it's good to start with, and then what I'm doing going forward, because I am changing my process just a little bit because of what I'm about to share with you. But I'm a bookkeeper by trade, and this is one thing that I recommend to all of my clients do. The way I have been doing it initially, just so that you have it there, because I have personally been surprised by a very large tax bill and had to get a loan that I'm still paying off to pay for it. So, and I don't want that to happen to you. However, there are some pitfalls to this, and I'll kind of describe those here in a second. But I'm a bookkeeper by trade, and this is what I did for myself to ensure that I never ever ran into that situation again. And I think it's a really good way to start out the process. However, and there are some reasons, a lot of reasons that I'm changing my process, but I'll name a few of them. Here's how my setup was. Every time I got paid, let's say someone paid me the $250, because that's like my minimum package for bookkeeping. What would happen is I use Square for my process, and what would happen is that they would pay the $250. Square would take their fee, which is about 3%, 3 to 4%, depending on the amount of the total bill. And then, so that in this case was $7.50. That comes out immediately. The other thing that I had set up is a Square savings account through their Square banking. And what would happen is I have it set to take out 20% off the top. So and it goes into a savings account, and that is for my taxes. So what would actually be transferred to my bank was $192.50. Yeah, I know. I don't know if it's driving you nuts like it's driving me nuts, but I don't know why I wrote in between two lines. But we're just going to ignore it for now, and then we're going to cover it up. So, but this would not happen until 1 to 3 business days later. So sometimes if it was like a Wednesday, I would get this money the following day. But if there was, like, let's say a holiday or something like that, it could take 3 to 4 business days for that money to get into the bank account. So then what would happen is I'd go back to do the bookkeeping. I have to record this $250 in total, because that's what I was actually paid, and that's what I'm actually being, I have to account for that for my tax purposes, right? And then I would have this fee, I would account for the fees separately, right? And then this becomes a transfer to my savings bank account. So to fully account for this transaction, and then I'm matching it with what was in the bank transaction, which is the $192.50. So this whole transaction, to account for it properly, I have to start here and then make sure that these two match, and we get to this final result of $192.50. The issue is that Square also, so let's say I had 3 clients pay me on the same day and they all paid $250. All of these things are multiplied by 3, except for this. This is going to come in as 3 separate transactions, and they're all going to be dated the day that this was paid, regardless of the date that this actually hit my bank account. And so the actual accounting for this was a nightmare in the system, just because of how they came in to the savings. They're coming in as 3 separate transactions, but they're combining here as one thing. So now my one transaction now turns into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, almost 10 different transactions, and it just becomes a pain, especially when you're trying to match and you're matching by date. So it just got really messy. I still think that this is a really good solution for people who are not used to saving money aside for taxes and are not prepared to do that, and not diligent about moving the money. So this is a good starting point, and then you can graduate to this when you're ready. Okay. So here's how this is going to go down now. Now I'm going to have a money market account that I just started, and all of my pay is going to go into the money market account, and from the money market account, so that I can get interest on those amounts, right? A higher level of interest. So everything goes into a money market account. From there, which in this case, so we're going to have the immediate $250 payment. Square's going to take its cut, and then this is going to be what hits the money market account. From there, I'm going to take that 20%, which is $48.50, and I'm going to manually transfer it to my taxes money market account, where it will sit until the end of the quarter, where I will pay my estimated taxes. Right now, so the other issue that I ran into is that 20%, given our as a couple, our pay was too high. And I ended up with a lot of money left over. 20% is a really good safe bet, and the cool thing about it is if you do the 20%, you will have extra money in that account, and you can either leave that as a savings account for your business, or you can make that a return for yourself, and you don't have to claim it as extra because you've already accounted for it when you accounted for the $250 payment. So that's how I'm going to be doing this, and then I'm going to pay myself out of the money market account and put money into my business checking to pay for things, like, softwares and stuff like that I need for my business. And then I'm going to move money into that checking account so that I can write checks for myself, to pay myself. So I think this is going to be, we will see how well I do with this over the next couple of years. The other option that I've thought about doing for myself is actually to set up my own self in like Gusto or something like that, where I can, as a 1099 contractor, but it would allow me to, it would allow me to distribute money into the bank accounts that need to be distributed to, via direct deposit. And there might be another way to do that. I just haven't figured it out yet. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. We'll see how it all goes. I'm still refining this process. This was just like my immediate stopgap process. Like, let's just make sure I have money in the account. Now that I've been doing that for 2 years, I feel better about it. And I can graduate to something where it's like, okay, I'm used to living with this amount of money coming in at the end of the day. And so now I know roundabout what I'm going to be making after the savings and after the fees and stuff, so I can adjust that from there. And quite literally, the other option would be to start with 20%, see where you land come taxes, and then the next year you can adjust it down or up depending on where you need to be. And that's kind of that. If you have a way to create a direct deposit where it comes from kind of like you're getting paid, and maybe you're doing it weekly, maybe you're doing it bi-weekly, maybe you just do it once a month, you can kind of figure that out and what that looks like. In which case, you would do a direct deposit for the taxes all at one time. It's like, oh, okay, well, this month, especially if you variable income, let's say I had this 5 times. I don't have a calculator because I am using it to record this. So let's say I had the $250, and we'll say I got paid by 5 different clients that amount. So that looks like 25, 2 is 10, 11, 12. Okay, so you have $12.50 per month. Is that right? Yeah. And then you would take out, we're just going to skip the fees for now, but let's say, yeah, the 20%. I'm not going to do that. 0, 10, carry the 1, 2, 4, 5, 2, and 1. So then you would take the $250 and you would transfer $250 into your taxes once a month. Personally, I know that I would not be diligent about doing this, and so I don't personally want to do that. I want to do it every time I get paid. And again, it's so variable that I don't necessarily, I'd rather have the more zero-based budget type thing where it's immediately put to the side and I know that it's there and I don't have to wonder if I did it or not. So that's what I would say. The other reason I don't want to do this anymore is that I have done a lot of research, and there's been some issues with a lot of fintech companies, and what that means is financial tech. And even though they say that they're FDIC insured, there has been a lot of these banks that are run by the tech bros and the hedge fund managers and the crypto guys that inevitably crash, and then your money is gone. And it can take a year and a lawsuit and, et cetera, to get your money back, if you even do. If you're curious what I'm talking about, look into Silicon Valley Bank and some of the other fintech crashes. FIN. I'll write it down. Wow, I cannot write today. Fintech crashes, and I'll actually leave a link to a video where an investigative journalist went into this and found that thousands upon thousands of people were missing a significant amount of money that was supposed to be FDIC insured and was never paid back to them. So, personally, and Sutton Bank is one of those banks, and that is who powers Square's bank. And I'm not saying that they're going to crash. I'm not saying that they are unreliable, or it's been great for 2 years. Like, I've had no issues. There has been some issues with transferring funds, but that was more, I believe, an issue on the receiving bank side. Just because when I started a new checking account, I had a nightmare of a situation. That's why I'm just now getting to this. I started my LLC back in May. I've been running as a sole proprietorship, and I wanted an LLC. So I started that back in May, went to get the bank account within a couple of days of getting that going, and quite literally could not access my money. And when you're working with Square's banking situation, the checks don't look like normal checks. You can print checks, but it automatically puts your money on a hold. And so until the check is either canceled or cashed, your funds are frozen. And in addition to that, you can only use them for direct deposit. So you can't walk into a bank with one of those checks and deposit it like a normal check. It has to be through mobile deposit. And it comes on like a normal sheet of paper, and you cut off the top and you cut off the bottom, and then you can deposit it. Well, I asked, the bank if I was going to have access to my money and be able to do mobile deposit, and they said, yep, no problem, will have no problems with that. Turns out you have to wait over 30 days to have access to it. There is no immediate access, so I couldn't get, I wrote a check on like a Thursday, found all that out, went to cancel it. It takes 1 to 3 business days to unlock your money. And so I was out of luck until Tuesday of the following week. And so I was like, well, that really sucks. So I moved some money over, went to go to the ATM at the same bank, and the ATM was broken. And over the course of like 7 visits to that bank, attempting to get access to my money through the ATM, there was no ATM access. So I think I was able to use it twice, and the other 5 times it was just broken. And I didn't want to go to another bank because they would have charged me a fee for my money, and like the whole point of this was to not have to deal with that. But anywho, then I went to connect my bank through Square using Plaid, and it connected. This was a credit union account, and so all of the account numbers were exactly the same. There was no differentiating between my money market account and my checking account, and some have a number at the beginning that is different, but this one didn't, and I think this is what caused the problem. So I connect the bank. I was like, okay, fine, I'll just connect the bank and I'll move all of my tax money over, which at this point was, a significant amount of money. And except that in the middle of the transfer, all of the bank accounts dropped. And so now I have to wait again for the money to come back to my account and be refunded back into my account, which, by the way, is an accounting nightmare in the bookkeeping software. And now I still don't have access to my money. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. So I just decided that bank was just not the bank for me. And I found another bank, but it took me a month because we were busy. It's summer. I'm trying to spend time with my kid. We've been sick, all the things. And I finally get it taken care of, and I'm in the process of moving everything now. But gosh, that was a huge pain in the ass. So that's the other reason we're doing this instead of this, because I need to have access to this money. For a while there, it was great because I didn't have access to the money, so I couldn't accidentally spend it or anything. But now I'm at the point where I understand that money needs to be there. I do not have access to it, don't do anything with it, and it can stay there. And I kind of know how much I need it to. So, but anyway, I don't know if this was helpful. If you've gotten all the way to the end of this chatty video, do you have a system that you use that you prefer? How do you save for taxes? That's kind of something that I've been trying to figure out. What's the best way? And I think this is going to be the best way, but we'll have an update on this in about 6 months at the end of the year when I've done it for a little while, and we'll see what happens. So I hope you guys have a good day. We are going to do more of this type of stuff and actual budgeting videos and cash budgeting and or cash stuffing, and I'm going to talk about my books. I'm starting a blog. I just want to get back into it and see your lovely faces. So I hope you all have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.